So, hey everybody, this is a great audience. My name is Laura Fortey, and today I'm here to talk about babies. Now, just to be clear, yes, the next slide. So, just to be clear, my company has nothing to do with children. I do not have kids myself. In fact, none of my friends have kids. And many people that I know in Vancouver think that it is a crazy thing to do, to give up their freedom, alter their lives, and, go even more broke living in this really expensive city. But people also feel the same way about starting a tech company. So today, I would like to parallel the similarities between building a company and raising a child. I've outlined a 5-year cycle and broken down each stage into the dream, the nightmare, and the likely outcome. So, next slide. So, it all starts with the idea, the dream. You're excited, you're nervous, but you made the decision. You have a revolutionary idea, you want to create a legacy, whether it's having a child or building something from the ideas in your brain. Then the next step is potentially the nightmare. You keep trying, you get nowhere, you continuously fail. You think you might actually have to give up on the dream. So a couple years ago, I met my co-founders and we decided to create a travel app. After about 9 months of development, we didn't feel that we were getting as far as we would have liked. And we had an epiphany. We wanted to try something different, which is the company we're doing now, which is a real estate investment platform. So the most likely outcome in the idea scenario is it works when you have the right partner, whether you're having a child or whether you're creating a company. With the right partner, things work out. You persevere, people get very excited for you, and you delve into learning and research. So for us, we knew that we worked really, really well together as a team, and we had the confidence to create something else that was market ready. My co-founder, Thomas, is in the real estate space, so we used a lot of his knowledge, and we decided to go for something using blockchain and real estate. Researching the market, we learned about everything along the way. So, next slide. So, year 1, you have the newborn. The dream is that you find success early. Everything's a piece of cake, your baby never cries, business comes really, really easy to you. You get lots of support. You wonder what everybody's actually complaining about. The nightmare is, this was a terrible idea, but you're in too deep, you cannot give the baby back, and you've given up probably a lot of your life savings to get to where you're at today. There's often no pay, you're bootstrapping, you're working harder than ever, you have a CEO who's crying all night long. The most likely outcome in this scenario is, yes, you don't sleep anymore. You question your sanity, but you also decide to stay committed. And taking the positives with the negative, usually you only talk about your business or your child. Next slide. So year 2, now we're into the terrible twos. The dream is that your life hasn't changed so much. You can still go out and do all the things that you like to do. You experience amazing growth. There's no meltdowns. The nightmare is you become the statistic. 30% of businesses fail in the first 2 years, and a lot of marriages fail in the first few years of rearing a child. You wish maybe that you hadn't have done this. You don't remember your life before having a business or having a child. Partnerships are formed, employees come and go, and you question, why did you do this? But the most likely outcome in this scenario is you vow that you're never going to do this again, you keep going, and sometimes you might even pivot. And you have people counting on you. So speaking of pivot, back in October, my business partners and I started out this company with a blue sky idea of wanting to create a fractional real estate platform for anybody who can't afford to buy real estate in the city, very expensive city we live in. Now, we came to a head when we had a lot of compliance and regulation issues, especially on the security side. So what we decided to do was we created an awesome platform for on the technology side that we were going to run our properties off of. And what we found was that we've been able to white label this software and now service the private securities market for people who are already doing this in the space, which is fantastic. This allowed us to prove out our technology and get revenue. So a real company now. Next slide. So years 3 and 4, this is the growth phase. So the dream is that you communicate very well, everybody gets along, you're making big strides. Communication is key here. We're going into our 3rd year, talking with our investors, communicating with employees, creating culture that we really want to be part of. And also, your kids can finally talk at this stage. The nightmare is there's mixed emotions through the tough times. There's more personalities to deal with, and there's always pain through periods of growth. The most likely outcome here is that your hard work is finally paying off, there's more challenges, but there's also more stability and more fun. You're through the thick of it, and hopefully you're no longer living on the edge. Possibly you're at the stage where you're thinking of your next steps and getting ready to sell. Next slide. So year 5 in the cycle that I've outlined here, the goal is the sale or the completion. So not selling the child, obviously, but sending the child off to school. So, the kid's no longer going to be at home all day, so you send the kid off to school. You have schools ready to onboard your child. You've got everybody waiting in the wings. And on the company side, you have lots of prospects interested, lining up to acquire you. Now, the nightmare is everything's out of your control. Your child is now getting influenced by the teachers and the other kids in the class. You might lose your identity. The child's not in front of you. You're no longer part of the company. And there's new exposure to what you've built. The dream is no longer yours. And the most likely outcome here is that you actually find new freedom. There's emotional times, there's happiness, there's relief, and it's also bittersweet. It's really important here to seek out people who have been here before and ask for advice. And at the end of the day, you decide it wasn't so bad, and you do it all over again. And you realize that all of this has just been a labor of love. And the last slide. So key points and takeaways that I would like to leave you all with is starting with an idea, tell everybody. Never stop learning, know your market, know your competition. Number 3, find the right partners and build a team. And supporters, obviously, investors. Know when to pivot and don't be afraid to do so. And realize this was the best decision and do it again. Thank you. So I did have one more slide. I outlined this presentation in my dream, my nightmare, and my most likely outcome of how I was going to deliver this. This is my first ever talk, so I appreciate you guys being such a good audience. And if anybody has any questions, I'm not sure if we have time for that. Okay, if there's any questions.
When are you doing a talk on golf?
I can do a talk on golf anytime. I taught golf for a number of years. I played for 3 years in a row, 1,096 days straight, which is pretty crazy. I wanted to get good, so I dedicated myself. Yeah. Yes?
How old is your startup now?
We're just gone past our 2 years. So from the starting of incorporation. So the idea started 2.5 years ago. So I would say we're past the terrible twos and we're moving into the growth. Hopefully, we're kind of on the cusp of both. Yes?
One of them you said, tell everybody about your idea. That makes me, the hair on my neck go up. But what about your intellectual property? How do you protect that?
Yeah, so I mean, in the early stages, telling a lot of new entrepreneurs and business people are so afraid to share their idea. They're afraid they're going to steal what they have. It is really hard to steal an idea. It takes a lot of money, millions of dollars to create what we've got to now today. It takes a dedicated team. In our first 6 months, we actually had somebody that said they tried to copy us, and they realized that they didn't have the heart and soul behind it. They had millions and millions of dollars, but they turned around and tried to buy us out in the end. Obviously, it didn't work out. We chose not to. But they had said that they tried to copy everything we have. Unless you're giving them the back door to your code, they're gonna. It's not impossible, but I would say share it because you're wanting to validate the market. You're wanting to validate if it's a good idea, and as well, it's a lot of money to copy. Yes.
Who's your ideal client? How do you get them?
At this moment, our ideal client is exempt market dealers, private issuers. So we're getting them through word of mouth in Canada, and then across in the States, we have a sales team as well there. But on the retail side, our blue sky dream, everybody in this crowd is our ideal client. So that's what we want to get to, is being able to allow everybody to get into the real estate market. Okay, I think that's it. Thanks, everybody.